All right, strap in, everyone. Today we are going deep with Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins. Now, this book, it's about way more than just being physically tough.
Yeah, it really is like a guide for mental toughness, how to
Mm.
push past limits, the ones we put on ourselves.
And it's not just for athletes or anything like that. Goggins, he talks about using these ideas for everything, work, relationships, even like if you want to start a business. I mean, who wouldn't want to use like 60% more of their potential? That's what he says we're leaving on the table.
That's that 40% rule of his, and it's interesting because it really makes you think differently about limits. Like, he gives this example of hitting the wall during an ultra marathon. When your body's like, stop this, but you push through it and there's all this hidden energy. He says our minds, they give up before our bodies do.
Oh, so it's our brains that are holding us back, not like our actual physical strength or whatever.
Exactly. And that connects to that idea of a growth mindset, where you believe, you can get better through hard work and dedication. And Goggins, he takes it even further, saying we got to train our minds to handle discomfort, just like when we're training our bodies.
Okay, so that's where the accountability mirror comes in, right? Like really getting honest with ourselves.
Exactly. Goggins, he believes that real change, it starts with being honest about our weaknesses and taking responsibility for our lives. He says you should start your day by looking in the mirror and asking tough questions. What am I avoiding? What excuses am I making?
It's like having a super strict coach right there in your bathroom, but I get it. No more sugarcoating. Have you tried anything like this yourself?
Well, I've tried something kind of similar, yeah. Instead of talking to the mirror, I write in a journal every morning. I list 3 things I'm grateful for, and then 3 challenges that I'm willing to face that day. It's a way to, focus on what I can control instead of what I don't have.
That's really useful, actually. So we're being honest with ourselves, but then Goggins, he goes even further with callousing the mind. That sounds a bit scary, I gotta say.
I mean, it is a powerful analogy. If you think about it, physical calluses, they protect your skin from rubbing and friction, right? So Goggins is saying that we can build those same calluses, but in our minds. How? By doing things that make us want to quit.
So we're talking about actually seeking out discomfort so that our minds become tougher. What does that actually look like? Not just running marathons, I mean like in normal life.
Oh, totally. It could be like setting a hard goal at work that makes you stretch, something that takes you out of your comfort zone, like maybe leading a really complicated project or giving a presentation, even though public speaking makes you nervous.
So instead of avoiding those things that make us anxious or uncomfortable, we should actually run towards them.
Exactly. Goggins, he believes that's where we really grow. Like when we want to quit, but we keep going. It's like working out, but for our minds.
Okay, now I'm starting to see how callousing the mind and that 40% rule, they fit together. It's about training ourselves to not stop even when our brains are telling us to.
Precisely. And this leads into another one of Goggins' big teachings, taking souls. Now, that sounds a bit intense, I know.
Yeah, kind of aggressive.
But it's not about like dominating others. It's more about setting a new standard for yourself and for others around you.
So not being mean or anything, but more like showing everyone what's possible and encouraging them to be their best.
Exactly. Goggins talks about back when he was in the military, he would always push himself way beyond what anyone expected. Not to show off, but to prove what was possible. That's taking souls, leading the way and getting other people fired up to reach their full potential.
Wow, so it's like pushing yourself and inspiring others at the same time.
Yeah, exactly. It's like raising the bar for everyone, you included.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So we've got this base now, the 40% rule, the accountability mirror, callousing our minds, and taking souls. What other big ideas from the book really stand out for you?
One that really gets me is this idea of embracing the suck.
Ooh, that sounds pleasant. But seriously, what does that even mean?
It means accepting that, discomfort, it's just part of the process when you're growing and achieving things. So instead of avoiding challenges, we should actually lean into the things that make us want to quit.
So instead of dreading challenges, we should see them as a chance to level up.
Exactly. It's about changing that voice in your head from I can't to I will.
Yeah.
Goggins, he suggests, finding things that challenge you. Like maybe you've always thought about doing an endurance event, but you were too scared. Sign up for one.
Okay, I see how that would make you mentally tougher, but it doesn't exactly sound like a walk in the park. Are there like everyday examples of this whole embrace the suck thing?
Oh, yeah. It could be something small, like finally doing that hard task at work you've been putting off, or having a conversation with someone you love, even though it's awkward and you've been avoiding it.
So instead of letting those challenges build up and stress you out, you face them head on.
You got it. Goggins, he says, when you deal with those uncomfortable situations, you're building your confidence, you're getting stronger, and you're creating a better life for yourself.
That makes sense. But what about when, like, your mind is working against you, telling you you're not good enough, you can't do something? Goggins talks about callousing your mind. What's the strategy there?
It's like working out your brain, building that mental muscle. Goggins is all about consistent discipline. Like, you know how you stick to a workout schedule no matter what? It's the same thing for training your mind.
So if we want to callous our minds, how do we actually do that?
It could mean meditating every day, even when you don't want to, or making time for focused work, no matter what distractions are happening. It's about training your mind to stay focused and tough, even when it's hard.
That makes sense. But even if we really want to do these things, staying motivated can be tough. What about those times when we doubt ourselves or feel exhausted and discouraged? How do we keep going then?
That's when Goggins' cookie jar comes in.
The cookie jar. Okay, I got to hear about this.
So, this cookie jar, it's filled with all your past wins, big and small, like a mental collection of all the times you faced a challenge or did something amazing or proved yourself wrong. It helps you remember how strong and tough you actually are.
So like a highlight reel of all the times we were awesome. I like that. But how do we create our own cookie jar? I'm not exactly running ultra marathons here.
Oh, it can be simple. Just keep a journal. Write down your wins. It could be nailing a presentation at work or finally finishing a project you were putting off, or even just working out for a week straight.
I love that, like a personal collection of pep talks for when things get tough. And speaking of pep talks, Goggins also talks about empowering self-talk, right?
Absolutely. Our thoughts, they really do shape our reality. Replacing those negative things we tell ourselves with positive affirmations, it can be really powerful. Goggins says, pick phrases that mean something to you and repeat them over and over.
Like, I am strong, I am capable, I got this.
Exactly. The important thing is that the affirmations feel true and powerful to you.
Okay, I can see how the cookie jar, positive self-talk, and callousing your mind, they all work together to make you mentally tougher. But let's be real, doing this stuff in everyday life, it's hard. We all have challenges, doubts, setbacks. What does Goggins say about getting through those rough patches?
He knows it's not easy, and that's where his idea of staying hard comes in.
Okay, staying hard. What does that mean? It sounds, well, intense.
Yeah, I mean, it might sound a bit strong, but it's all about that never-ending chase for excellence, never settling for just okay. He says you got to set those big, ambitious goals, the ones that really push you to grow.
So instead of avoiding challenges, we should actually go looking for them.
You got it. It's about seeing discomfort as a necessary part of getting better.
Okay, I'm noticing a pattern here. Goggins is all about pushing those boundaries, huh? But for those of us who aren't ready for an ultramarathon, any advice on how to use these ideas in a more moderate way, I guess?
That's a great question, and something we'll dig into more in the next part of our deep dive. We'll look at how to use these powerful ideas in different areas of life, like personal growth, being successful at work, even in relationships.
Can't wait. Listeners, definitely tune in for the next part where we'll break down even more of Goggins' wisdom and figure out how to make these tough-sounding ideas work for you.
Welcome back, everyone, deep divers. Last time we were talking about some pretty intense stuff. Embrace the suck, staying hard, callousing your mind.
Yeah, intense is putting it mildly. But before we get to all the ways we can use these ideas, I'm curious about those advanced tactics Goggins talks about. What are those all about?
Well, those are where he really pushes the limits of what most people think is even possible. Like, take the 40% rule, for example. It's one thing to know we've got more in the tank, but to actually do it in real life, that takes serious commitment.
So it's like taking that idea of pushing past your limits and making it like a way of life.
Right. Goggins, he uses running as an example.
Yeah.
He says you should keep pushing your distance further than what feels comfortable. Every time you hit that wall and push through, you're training your mind to handle more. It's not about being in pain. It's about proving to yourself you can do more than you think.
So how do we actually do that? Not just with running, I mean in general.
It's about looking for challenges that force you to adapt and grow. Like maybe take on that project at work everyone else is avoiding, or finally learn that skill you've been putting off. The key is to do those things that make you uncomfortable. That's where the growth is.
That makes sense. But discomfort's not enough, is it? You need some serious self-discipline to stick with these changes, and honestly, a lot of us struggle with that.
Oh, absolutely. And Goggins has some great ideas for building discipline, like exercising a muscle. He talks a lot about setting clear boundaries. Could be something like having a dedicated space for work or a strict schedule for exercise, no matter what.
So, like, create an environment that helps you achieve your goals and gets rid of distractions.
Exactly. Get rid of those temptations that make you go off track, and then it's easier to stick to your plan. He's also big on routine. Having those daily habits that line up with your goals makes staying on track way easier, even when you're not feeling motivated.
So, like, starting every day with meditation or exercise, even just for a few minutes, sets the tone.
Yeah, exactly. These little actions, they add up over time. They become that foundation for self-discipline. Goggins even says something as simple as making your bed every morning is a tiny act of order and control. Sets the tone for the day.
I like that. Small wins, big impact. Okay, give me another advanced tactic. What else does he talk about?
Visualization. It's all about using your imagination to basically practice succeeding in your mind. Goggins says, picture yourself achieving your goals. Really feel that accomplishment and pride.
Okay, I've heard of visualization, but I've always been kind of skeptical. Does it really work?
There's actually a lot of research that says it does. Elite athletes, they've been using it forever. When you do this visualization over and over, you're training your brain to believe that success is possible. And that can actually make it more likely to happen.
So, like, you're creating a mental map for success, a guide for your subconscious.
Exactly. It's really powerful for building confidence, dealing with anxiety, and actually reaching your goals.
Okay, I'm intrigued. I'm going to add visualization to my mental toughness toolbox. What else is there for these advanced tactics?
Last piece, and we've touched on this before, is having a strong support system.
Yeah, being around people who believe in you and encourage you, like your own personal cheerleading squad.
Right. Goggins talks about finding mentors, people to keep you accountable, and just people who are on the same wavelength that can offer guidance, support, and encouragement.
Having those people around, it makes a huge difference when things get tough or you feel discouraged. Okay, we've talked about some really great ways to get mentally tougher, but I want to switch gears for a second and talk about something that can really hold people back, the limiting beliefs we have about ourselves.
You mean those thoughts that tell us we're not good enough, not smart enough, not strong enough to do what we want?
Exactly. How do we get rid of those negative thoughts and actually believe we can be great?
Goggins, he calls it shifting our self-perception. He says, you got to have a warrior mindset.
I love that. But how do we actually do that? How do we go from feeling insecure to feeling like a warrior?
It starts by changing those negative thoughts to positive ones. Every time you hear yourself saying, I can't, fight back with, I can or I will.
So it's like rewiring your brain, focusing on possibilities instead of what you think your limitations are.
Exactly. Change the story you're telling yourself. Start believing you can do anything you set your mind to.
That's powerful. But saying I can and actually believing it are two different things. How do we close that gap?
Goggins, he's all about building confidence through action. He says, start small, take those first steps, and that'll make you believe in yourself more.
So it's like proving to yourself one small win at a time that you can do more than you thought.
Right. Each win makes that belief stronger, and it keeps you motivated. He also says, celebrate those wins no matter how small.
Like acknowledging how far you've come and being proud of yourself. I love that. But even with those small wins, staying in that growth mindset, it can be a challenge. How do we keep learning and growing even when we have setbacks?
Goggins, he says, see challenges as opportunities to grow. Don't think of setbacks as failures, but as chances to learn and become stronger.
So it's like instead of getting upset about what went wrong, you ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this to get better and stronger?
Exactly. Setbacks are going to happen. It's how we react to them that matters. Do we let them break us, or do we get stronger?
I love that, turning those lemons into lemonade.
You got it. And Goggins, he reminds us that every successful person out there, they've all had setbacks.
Right. So it's not about avoiding challenges, but figuring out how to deal with them and become more resilient.
Exactly. Setbacks are just opportunities to make adjustments and improve.
Okay, now I feel a lot more ready to face those challenges. But what about those times when it all feels too much? When you just want to give up?
Goggins has some good ideas for those moments of doubt.
Okay, tell me. I need all the help I can get when it comes to those inner demons.
One of his best tips is to use that cookie jar we talked about earlier.
Right, that mental collection of all our wins.
Yeah. When you're feeling discouraged, think back to those times you overcame challenges, you did something amazing, or you proved yourself wrong.
It's like giving yourself a pep talk from your past self, reminding yourself what you can really do.
Exactly. Those memories, they prove you have the strength and toughness to get through whatever you're facing now.
Okay, I'm writing that down. What else can we do to fight those doubts and keep going?
Goggins, he's big on focusing on what you can control.
Right. But when you're feeling overwhelmed, it's hard to even know where to start.
He says, break down your goals into smaller, manageable steps.
So instead of looking at the whole big, scary goal, you break it into smaller pieces that don't seem so impossible.
Right. Focusing on those smaller actions helps you feel like you're making progress, and that keeps you motivated.
It's like that saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Exactly. Every small step makes you believe you can reach your goal, even with setbacks.
Okay, I feel a lot more ready to face those challenges head on. But before we finish this part of our deep dive, I want to come back to something we talked about earlier, consistency.
Oh yes, the holy grail of self-improvement. It's one thing to be motivated for a little while, but how do you keep that going long term?
Exactly. So how do we make consistency a habit, not just a burst of motivation?
Goggins really stresses building systems and routines to support your goals.
Okay, we talked about boundaries and structure, but what else can help us stay consistent?
One of his best suggestions is to make your goals part of who you are.
What do you mean by that?
Don't just think of your goals as something you do. Think of them as part of your identity.
Okay, I think I'm getting it. So instead of I want to be a runner, it's I am a runner.
Exactly.
Huh.
When it's part of your identity, you're more committed. It's not about willpower anymore. It's about acting in a way that lines up with who you believe you are.
That's powerful. Like instead of I'm trying to be healthier, it's I am a healthy person.
Right. And when you make that shift, your actions naturally follow.
I love that. It's like giving your goals superpowers by making them part of you.
Exactly. And being consistent becomes easier because you're not fighting yourself anymore. Your actions and who you are, they're on the same page.
This is amazing. I'm definitely going to try that. What else can help with being consistent? It's so tough sometimes.
Goggins says, find an accountability partner.
Right, we talked about that with support systems, but how does it help with consistency?
When you tell someone your goals and they check in on you, encourage you, it's harder to give up.
That's like having a reminder of what you're supposed to be doing, someone who keeps you focused even when you want to quit.
Right. And feeling accountable can be really motivating.
Yeah.
Knowing someone else is invested in your success makes you want to keep going, even when you'd rather sleep in or something.
That's so true. I know for me, having someone like that makes a huge difference.
It's a great way to stay consistent and reach your goals.
Okay, so we've got creating systems, making goals part of who you are, and finding someone to keep you accountable. Any other strategies from Goggins for staying consistent?
He says, focus on building momentum, one small win at a time.
Right, we talked about that with confidence, but how does it apply to consistency?
By concentrating on small, achievable goals, you feel like you're moving forward, and that keeps you motivated and consistent.
So it's like a snowball effect. Each win helps you get to the next one.
Exactly. And don't forget to celebrate those wins, no matter how small.
Right. It's about seeing how far you've come and being proud of yourself.
Exactly. Those good feelings, they make it more likely you'll keep going.
Okay, so it's not just about pushing through. It's also about enjoying the journey and celebrating along the way.
Absolutely. Consistency doesn't mean being perfect. It's about showing up for yourself day after day, even when it's hard.
And those small wins, celebrating those, makes it easier to show up.
Exactly. They remind you why you started and make you want to keep going.
Okay, I'm so ready to get out there and take action. But before we wrap this up, I want to talk about something that can be a real bummer, setbacks.
Ah, yes. Those bumps in the road. No matter how committed we are, life always throws us curveballs.
Exactly. So how do we deal with disappointment, frustration, even failure without letting it stop us?
Goggins has a really interesting perspective on setbacks.
Tell me, what's his secret for bouncing back?
He says, don't see setbacks as failures. See them as chances to learn and grow.
Okay, but that's easier said than done. How do you actually change your thinking like that?
It starts with changing how you think about it. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I use this to get better and stronger?
So it's about shifting your focus from the bad feelings to the potential for growth.
Exactly. Setbacks are going to happen, but it's our choice how we react to them. They can either break us or make us stronger.
I love that. Turning lemons into lemonade.
You got it. And Goggins says every successful person, they've all had setbacks.
Right. It's not about avoiding them. It's about knowing how to deal with them and become more resilient.
Exactly. Setbacks are just opportunities to course correct and get better.
Okay, now I feel a lot more confident about facing those bumps in the road. But what about when those setbacks feel too big? When you just want to give up?
Goggins has some good strategies for those times.
Okay, I'm ready. I need all the help I can get for those moments of doubt.
He says, go back to your cookie jar.
Oh yeah, that mental list of all our wins.
Exactly. When you're feeling down, think about those times you overcame challenges, those times you were amazing, those times you proved yourself wrong.
It's like a pep talk from your past self.
You got it. Those memories, they prove that you have what it takes to overcome whatever you're facing now.
Okay, I'm adding that to my list of strategies. Anything else we can do to fight those doubts and keep moving?
Goggins, he always says, focus on what you can control.
That makes sense. But when you're overwhelmed, it's tough to even know where to start.
He suggests breaking your goals down into smaller steps.
So instead of the big scary goal, you break it into smaller pieces.
Right. Focusing on those smaller actions makes you feel like you're moving forward, which helps when you're feeling overwhelmed.
Okay, so it's like, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time.
Exactly. Each step forward makes you believe in yourself more, even when you have setbacks.
Okay, I feel a lot better about tackling those challenges now. But before we finish up this part of our deep dive, I want to talk about something that can really kill your progress. Distractions.
Oh yeah, those sneaky little time wasters, they can derail anyone.
Exactly. It feels like everywhere you look, there's a distraction. How do we stay focused with all that noise?
Goggins has some great ways to cut down distractions and stay focused.
I'm all ears. I could really use some help staying focused.
One of his most practical tips is to have a dedicated workspace.
So a space that's just for work or whatever you're trying to focus on.
Exactly. When you have a specific area for focused work, you're telling your brain, okay, it's time to get down to business.
I like that. It's like separating work time from free time, even in your mind.
Right. And it's important to get rid of distractions in that workspace.
Okay, so no TV, no social media, no piles of laundry staring at me.
Right. You want a space that helps you focus.
Makes sense. But what about those distractions that aren't in a physical space, like all those notifications on our phones?
Goggins, he's all about minimizing digital distractions.
So like putting your phone on do not disturb, or even
Yeah.
putting it in a different room.
Exactly. Those constant notifications can really mess with your productivity, so you got to create those boundaries to protect your focus.
Right, so we're in control of our technology, not the other way around.
You got it. Goggins also says, schedule specific times to check email and social media.
So instead of checking all day long, you set aside a certain time for it.
Right. Then you can be fully focused on other things without being interrupted.
Okay, I'm definitely going to try that.
Yeah.
I know I check my phone way too much, even when I'm trying to get stuff done.
It's easy to fall into that trap, but if we set those boundaries and limits, we can get our focus back and make progress on our goals.
This is so helpful. I feel like I'm learning so much about managing my time, my energy, and my focus.
That's what Goggins is all about. He wants us to be in control of our own minds and create the lives we want.
Okay, I'm feeling inspired and ready to use all these strategies.
Yeah.
But before we wrap up this part, I want to go back to something we talked about earlier. Mindset.
Ah, yeah, the foundation for success. Goggins really believes that our mindset is what unlocks our potential.
Exactly. But mindset, it's kind of a big idea. Can you break it down for us? What makes a Goggins-approved mindset?
One of the biggest things is self-belief.
You mean really believing that you can achieve your goals no matter what challenges come up?
Exactly. Goggins reminds us that we're all capable of much more than we think.
But how do we develop that belief, especially when we're dealing with self-doubt and those negative thoughts?
Goggins, he says, focus on your past wins.
Right, like using that cookie jar we talked about.
You got it.
Yeah.
When you think about those times you overcame challenges or did something amazing or proved yourself wrong, you start to break down those negative beliefs and build self-belief.
So it's like using those past wins as proof that you can achieve big things.
Exactly. It's like creating a highlight reel of all your successes to remind yourself how strong you are.
I love that. What else can help us create a more positive mindset?
Goggins also talks a lot about gratitude.
So even when things are tough, taking time to appreciate the good things in our lives.
Exactly. Gratitude helps you focus on what you do have instead of what you don't, and that makes you more positive and optimistic.
Right, like that saying, what you focus on expands.
Exactly. When you focus on the good stuff, you attract more good stuff.
Okay, I'm adding gratitude to my daily routine. What else does Goggins suggest for building a strong mindset?
He also says it's really important to be around positive and supportive people.
Right, that's where our support system comes in.
Exactly. The people we spend time with, they affect our mindset, so choose wisely.
So, ditch the negative people and hang out with people who lift you up and inspire you.
Right. Find people who believe in you, encourage you, and challenge you to grow.
I love that. It's like creating a positive energy circle.
Exactly. Having that network makes a huge difference when you're trying to stay positive and resilient.
This is great. I feel like I'm learning so much about taking control of my thoughts, my beliefs, and my outlook on life.
That's Goggins' whole philosophy. He wants to show us that our mindset isn't set in stone. We can actively change it.
Okay, so we talked about believing in yourself, gratitude, surrounding yourself with positive people. Anything else about building that Goggins-approved mindset?
One last thing Goggins emphasizes is the importance of having a purpose.
Okay, so like knowing why you're doing what you're doing, a driving force that gives meaning to your efforts.
Exactly. Goggins says when you have a strong sense of purpose, it fuels you, gives you strength when things get tough, and keeps you focused on what matters.
I love that. It's like having a North Star guiding you on your journey, a light that keeps you going when the path gets rough.
Right. And Goggins says we all have a purpose to fulfill.
Okay, but how do you figure out what your purpose is? It seems like a big, confusing idea.
Goggins says explore your passions, your values, and what you truly want.
So ask yourself those big questions about what makes you feel alive, what's important to you, and what kind of impact you want to make on the world.
Exactly. It's a journey to get to know yourself, but it's worth it.
Right, because when what you do aligns with your purpose, it's not just about achieving goals anymore. It's about living a meaningful life.
You got it. And Goggins says your purpose doesn't have to be something huge or extraordinary. It could be as simple as making a positive impact on people around you.
I love that. Finding what lights you up and using it to make the world a little bit better.
Right. And when you live with purpose, you've got endless energy and motivation.
Okay, I'm officially on a mission to find my purpose. But before we wrap up, I want to talk about something that can really get you stuck. Being in a rut.
Oh, yeah, the dreaded rut. We've all been there, feeling stuck in a boring routine, like we're wasting our potential.
So what's Goggins' advice for getting out of that rut and feeling passionate about life again?
He has some great ideas for shaking things up and bringing back that excitement.
Okay, hit me with some Goggins-style motivation. What's the secret to busting out of a rut?
One of his best tips is to set a new challenge for yourself.
So something that pushes you out of your comfort zone, something that makes you grow.
Exactly. It could be anything, like signing up for a race, learning a new skill, or taking on a hard project at work.
Right. It's about changing things up and making your routine more exciting.
Exactly. And Goggins, he says challenges don't have to be huge. It could be trying a new restaurant or taking a different route to work.
I like that. It's about those little things that make you step out of your comfort zone and try something new.
You got it. And by always looking for new challenges, you keep your mind engaged, your spirits up, and your potential growing.
Okay, new challenges, check. What else can we do to escape the rut?
He also says connect with your passions.
So get back to those activities and interests that make you feel happy and alive.
Exactly. When you're feeling stuck, get back to those things that bring you joy and give you energy.
It's like recharging your batteries, remembering what makes life fun.
Right. And Goggins says our passions can really motivate and inspire us.
Okay, adding reconnect with my passions
Yeah.
to my list. What else can we do to get unstuck?
Goggins also talks about spending time in nature.
Oh, like getting some fresh air, sunshine, connecting with the outdoors.
Exactly. He believes nature has this power to clear your mind, de-stress you, and make you more creative.
I love that. It's like hitting the reset button, remembering there's something bigger than yourself.
You got it. Goggins says spending time in nature helps you gain perspective, get clear on things, and reconnect with your purpose.
Okay, I'm booking a weekend trip to the mountains, but before I do, I want to talk about something that can be a real downer. Dealing with negativity. It feels like we're surrounded by it all the time, from the news, social media, even our own thoughts. How do you stay positive with all that going on?
Goggins has some good advice for dealing with negativity and staying positive.
Okay, tell me everything. How do you block out negativity without completely disconnecting from the world?
One of his biggest tips is to be careful about what information you take in.
So being picky about what you read, watch, and listen to.
Exactly. If something is always bringing you down, it might be time to stop consuming it so much.
Right. It's like choosing a healthy diet, but for your mind.
Right. Goggins also says you should set boundaries with negative people.
So spend less time with people who are always complaining or bringing you down.
Exactly. It's not about being mean. It's about protecting your energy and staying positive.
I love that. Setting healthy boundaries and being around people who lift you up. But what about that negative voice in your own head? How do you deal with that?
Goggins says, you have the power to choose your thoughts.
Easier said than done, right? How do you control your thoughts, especially when those negative ones seem to pop up out of nowhere?
Goggins suggests something called thought-stopping techniques.
Thought stopping, what's that?
It's about noticing those negative thoughts when they happen and stopping them.
So like yelling stop in your head when you have a negative thought.
Yeah. Or you can replace the negative thought with a positive one.
So instead of I can't do this, it's I can do anything I set my mind to.
Right. It's about training your brain to focus on the good stuff instead of dwelling on the negative.
Okay, I'm going to try that. It's like kicking out those bad thoughts and making room for the good ones.
Exactly. And sometimes just acknowledging those negative thoughts and labeling them as unhelpful can be enough to lessen their power.
So it's like saying, hey, I see you, negative thought, but I'm not buying what you're selling today.
Precisely. And then you can shift your focus back to something more empowering and constructive.
Okay, I'm feeling much more equipped to handle those negative thoughts now. But before we move on, I want to talk about something that can be a real energy drain. Stress. It feels like stress is just a part of modern life, you know? How do we deal with it in a healthy way without letting it take over?
Goggins, he's got some great insights on managing stress.
Okay, lay it on me. I need all the stress-busting tips I can get.
First off, he emphasizes the importance of physical activity.
So getting that heart rate up, sweating it out, releasing those endorphins.
Exactly. Exercise, it's not just good for your body, it's amazing for your mind too. It helps reduce stress hormones, improve sleep, and boosts your mood.
Right, it's like hitting the reset button on your stress levels.
Got it. And Goggins, he doesn't just mean intense workouts either. Even a brisk walk or some gentle stretching can make a big difference.
Okay, so get moving, check. What else can we do to combat stress?
He also talks about the power of mindfulness.
So being present in the moment, paying attention to our thoughts and feelings without judgment.
Exactly. Practices like meditation and deep breathing, they can really help calm your mind and reduce those stress levels.
Right, it's like giving your mind a break from all the chaos and worry.
You got it. And it doesn't have to be complicated. Even just taking a few minutes to focus on your breath or to notice the sensations in your body can make a difference.
Okay, I'm adding mindfulness to my daily routine. What else does Goggins recommend for managing stress?
He also emphasizes the importance of sleep.
Right, getting enough shut-eye. That seems pretty basic, but I think a lot of us struggle with it.
You're absolutely right. But Goggins, he's adamant about the power of quality sleep. When you're well rested, you're better equipped to handle stress, make good decisions, and maintain a positive outlook.
Makes sense. It's like recharging your batteries so you can face the day with more energy and resilience.
Exactly. And Goggins suggests establishing a consistent sleep routine, creating a relaxing bedtime ritual, and making sure your bedroom is conducive to sleep.
Okay, those are all great tips. I'm definitely going to prioritize getting a good night's sleep. But what about those times when stress is unavoidable? Like when we're facing a deadline at work or dealing with a family emergency? What does Goggins say about handling those high-pressure situations?
Goggins, he reminds us that we always have a choice in how we respond to stress.
Okay, but when you're in the thick of it, it can feel like you're not in control. How do you actually choose a different response when stress is hitting you from all sides?
He suggests taking a step back and reframing the situation.
So changing how you view the stressful event.
Exactly. Instead of seeing it as a threat, try to see it as a challenge.
Okay, so like instead of thinking this is going to be a disaster, I could try thinking, okay, this is tough, but I can handle it.
Precisely. By shifting your perspective, you can reduce those feelings of overwhelm and approach the situation with more confidence and clarity.
That's a great tip. It's like taking a deep breath and reminding yourself that you've got this. Any other strategies for those high-stress moments?
Goggins also emphasizes the importance of self-care.
So taking time to nourish ourselves physically, mentally, and emotionally.
Exactly. It could be anything from taking a relaxing bath, to spending time in nature, to connecting with loved ones.
Right. It's about giving ourselves permission to recharge and prioritize our well-being, even when life gets crazy.
You got it. And Goggins reminds us that self-care is not selfish. It's essential for maintaining our resilience and ability to handle stress.
Okay, I'm adding self-care to my list of must-dos. But before we wrap up this part of our deep dive, I want to talk about something that I think is crucial for success in any area of life. Building healthy habits. It feels like everyone's always talking about habits, but why are they so important and how do we actually make those positive changes stick?
Goggins, he's a huge advocate for the power of habits. He believes they're the foundation for lasting change.
Okay, but habits can be so hard to break, let alone create new ones. What's Goggins' secret for making those healthy habits stick?
One of his most important suggestions is to start small.
So instead of trying to overhaul our entire lives overnight, we focus on making one small change at a time.
Exactly. Choose one habit you want to focus on and break it down into tiny, manageable steps.
Okay, so instead of trying to go from couch potato to marathon runner overnight, I could start by committing to a 15-minute walk every day.
Exactly. By starting small, you're setting yourself up for success and building momentum.
Right. It's about creating that snowball effect, one small win at a time. What else does Goggins recommend for building lasting habits?
He also emphasizes the importance of consistency.
Right, we've talked about that before, but how does it apply to habits specifically?
Goggins believes that consistency is the key to turning those small actions into ingrained habits.
Welcome back for the last part of our deep dive into Can't Hurt Me. We've talked about so much, the 40% rule, callousing our minds, embracing the suck.
Yeah, we've really explored how to use those ideas in every part of life.
Exactly. But before we wrap up, I want to make sure everyone listening really gets the main point. What's the big takeaway? Why is this book so powerful?
I think it's about realizing we can all be great no matter what happened in our past or what's going on right now. Goggins' message is all about empowerment.
I love that. It's like he's saying, stop doubting yourself. You can do so much more than you think.
Right, and he gives you a way to actually reach that potential. It's not some magic power, it's something you can develop if you really put in the effort and practice.
It's not about being born tough. It's about working on that mental strength over time.
Exactly. And what's really cool is that anyone can use his approach, no matter your background, your goals, whatever you want to achieve.
So it doesn't matter if you're an athlete, a business person, or just someone who wants to live a better life. These ideas can help.
Absolutely. Goggins' message goes beyond any specific job or activity. It's about that human potential we all have for growth, resilience, and achievement.
This has been such a great deep dive. I feel like I've learned so much about what our minds can really do.
I've really enjoyed exploring these ideas with you.
And for those who want to learn even more, definitely check out the whole book, Can't Hurt Me, and all the extra resources we mentioned.
Yeah, there's so much knowledge and inspiration out there.
But even if you never read the book, I hope you take away one important message from this deep dive.
What's that?
You are capable of so much more than you realize. Don't let your mind hold you back. Push those limits, embrace the suck, and never stop believing in yourself.
Well said. And if you're looking for a place to start, here's a challenge. What's one small thing you can do today to push yourself out of your comfort zone and start callousing your mind?
It could be a cold shower, having a tough conversation, or finally tackling that task you've been putting off.
The point is to choose something, even a small thing, that makes you stretch a bit.
Remember, those little moments of discomfort, that's how you build mental strength.
So take the challenge. Embrace the suck. And watch as you unlock strength and resilience you didn't even know you had.
This has been an amazing journey, and I'm so glad we could share it with you. Until next time, stay hard.